Excellent. Thank you very much for all that and for the preparation, and let's start for real. So welcome again to the Omero workshop in Turku. And we start with a short presentation. As we just said, for those who came late, we will go straight for an hour until 1 p.m. Then there will be 15 minutes break. And in that time, we will mainly concentrate on the first part of the workshop. First thing first, what is actually Omero and what is OME? And then I will give you a workshop overview. This short presentation will be done within under 20 minutes for sure. So the OME stands for yes.
Maybe Peter, if feel free to raise your hand, ask question as we go. So that's the most important thing. If we don't cover everything,
absolutely,
one thing,
yeah.
Feel free to interrupt, please.
Yes, and don't feel kind of shy or like thinking that you are throwing us in too much chaos. If you do, we will adjust and tell you, but usually you will get much lower throughput possibilities on Zoom than you have in real life. So don't be shy to push yourselves through somehow. Okay, there is a chat in Zoom window as well. And I can be interrupted, yes? Just bear it in mind, I can be interrupted. So the open microscopy environment is aiming to connect things which were originally actually not meant to work together, such as the acquisition machines, which produce a lot of proprietary format files, image files, and the data management of those image files, quantitative analysis. The image files, of course, have metadata, which you don't want to lose, and then use them for further analysis and processing. You want to store your analysis results with your metadata and visualize the images. So OME is kind of not doing the things on the periphery, rather kind of connecting like wheel in a hub those things together. Nevertheless, the open microscope produces real software. I had also questions, then they understood that we are just a free conglomerate of others. No, this is not true. We are having some products, and one of those products, which is aiming to serve the purpose I just highlighted, is Omero, and that's the product. So OME is basically a project, a bunch of people who are trying to achieve some goal. Omero is their product, their software which serves them to achieve that goal, serves them and mainly the community. So it's a image management software, and it's a server with clients. Okay, so that's scary. Clients might be something you are not used to, but server, probably you know the word. So server in computing is a powerful computer machine which is typically handled by the IT department and is sitting somewhere else. It's not where you are. Typically, you don't have physical access, and this is good so, because you would just wreak havoc on that hardware. It looks like nothing like you are used to. It's just racks and forest of wires. It's behind a locked room, and so well, the server is in our cartoon on this side. The server nevertheless has to be accessed somehow, and in Omero's case, it's via internet. So in Omero, all the images you are working with are on that server, and you import the image data there, and then you can do stuff remotely on those images, and the remoteness is served by internet. And you, of course, have to have some means to access the server on your side, and this is done from your laptop and desktop. Each of you sits in front of such machine now, and laptop and desktop has an application which is able to connect to that server. In our case, this will be Omero Insight, it will be Fiji plugin, it will be QPath, and this application then connects via internet to the server and lets you to do stuff, so to say, browsing, viewing, analyzing, etc. So the Omero is using a Java library called Bioformats, which is also the product of OME team, and it allows you to read various types of proprietary files, such as, pardon me, high content screening data. There was already a question about it, and whole slide images, but of course, classical confocal and conventional fluorescent microscopy images, as well as TIFFs, PNGs, etc. And we are covering also medical and general regions of imaging. So the metadata, which I highlighted, are important, are of two sorts. First, the ones which are in the file itself, and then also the ones which you add post hoc, which you need to organize your images. And then, of course, also metadata, which are coming from the analysis. So I will touch up on all of them in the course of the workshop. We take them very seriously, and they are stored in the server in a relational database. So Omero has a database to itself as well. And it's not just, so the data are not thrown there on some pile. There is always taken care of what belongs to what. You can search on the server. And we have also a feature called Omero Tables. This is for storing the analytical results, which are also a type of metadata, as just highlighted. Now, this is a highlight of a type which of data which we also support. It's high content screening. The reason I'm even stopping at the slide is because of that question. We will go into that. This is the so-called Screenplay 12 format. Okay, so you have let's say 96 well plates and the automatic stage which shoots an image in each well, and then you get a conglomerate of images in each well, one or more. And this is stored in a format such as Flex or Operetta, and then you import that whole beast into Omero, and Omero will display it like that. I will show it in more length later in the workshop. And the showing is here in Omero Web, which is our main client. Will you remember the word client from the beginning? This is basically your window into that server where your images are sitting. This is a concept which you just have to live with if you've never done anything like that remotely. This is the whole slide image format, really big images. You can see tens of thousands of pixels, like sections of pathology. This is not a microscopy at all. It's a DICOM format, which is a brain scan CT, and DICOM is a popular medical imaging format. Very good. Now, Omero has so-called API, which stands for Application Programming Interface. And this is to be thought of as kind of a bunch of plugs. So if you want to have, let's say, electricity at home, you can't just assume that you can come somewhere in your home and the electricity will be freely flowing from the wall. You need some connector, and this connector is crucial, otherwise you have nothing. And in the programming world, this is the same. So if you have, let's say, the good usage of your good old Python, Java, MATLAB scripts, or indeed applications which are using those programming languages, and you would like to reuse them, you don't want to rewrite everything for your images just because they are now in Omero, then you can use this plug and connect to the images in Omero, your scripts, and then run them. This is the same concept here on the slide, which I just highlighted. The Omero is in the center, and these are the programming languages. You say, oh, these are softwares, but let's remember that softwares are actually nothing else than bits of code which are written in some programming language, such as Fiji is written in Java, obviously. R is written in its own programming language called R. Napar is written in Python. And so on and so on. Okay, so each of those famous applications, very powerful in the image analysis world, is written in some program, and you can have a bridge. This is the plug I was describing between this client in this sense and the Omero server. And the data can flow back and forth between those two, which is of course necessary if you want to visualize and analyze using, let's say, QPath. Then on Omero Web, we have an environment. So once more, Omero Web is the main so-called client. That's what will be for us in this workshop, bread and butter. We will be in Omero Web day in, day out, and we use it as a reference to view everything in the most convenient way inside Omero. And the reason it's convenient is that we have so-called plugins for Omero Web. We have a couple of viewers, like a main viewer, iViewer, Omero Figure, 3D viewer, and etc. By the way, mentioning Omero Figure will be shown tomorrow, and you just don't want to miss that, okay? And whatever you think about the whole setup of the workshop, Omero Figure will persuade you that this is really something you want to see. So stay for that. Good. Let's say Omero in use case is IDR. This is a little bit of a jump here in the presentation. IDR is standing for Image Data Resource, and it's a publisher of images. This means the OME team, is in this case, in this IDR case, publishing data of other scientists which submit data to us. The data must be connected to a scientific publication, and then they will get published using Omero. And this is how you can get there. And of course, you're welcome to submit your data to IDR. There will be a submission process. It's a publisher like anyone else. You are submitting raw images, but your images might be accepted or rejected. And the thing which is very important is the metadata and the searchability and connection to other databases. So it has to be, so to say, a reference data set in order to be accepted in IDR. The content of today's workshop, to switch against the gear, is captured in full in so-called Omero guides. Well, this is documentation which is in a workflow type, and we will use it again mainly as your lead. This is for you and mainly for people like Joanna. Finding your footing in Omero and with Omero for the different type of users, well, let's say facility manager for us is a user as well, of course, of a different sort, and is quite useful. So this slide can be used. We have guides for facility managers. In those Omero guides, we have the getting started guide for the facility managers there. And we have the Omero guide for users, so such as you click on this link and you are here. By the way, you can do that as well. I will show you in a second where this presentation really is. Actually, Jean-Marie can start pinging the link to the chat. Excellent, thank you very much. So the presentation is not going to go anywhere. What I'm showing to you here is going to stay there forever. Yeah. For your peruse even after the workshop. So you can navigate to the presentation and go through the slides as I'm doing on your side, on your computer right now. Okay, and click on those links and get yourself wise about about Omero. Now, this is a slide which is highlighting the main features of today's workshops in particular, but not in full. Why not in full? Is because it's quite a bit of a job to pop in a new icon into such image as you might imagine, and thus I didn't manage to do that. Sorry for that. So I will talk you through that. So this is today's workshop. I said our bread and butter will be Omero Web. The Omero Web is running in a browser. These are the market leaders in the internet browser programs region, okay, Firefox and Google Chrome. But Edge on Windows will work for you as well. Safari will work as well. Okay, the browsers nowadays are getting more and more close to each other. You will not get many surprises. And Omero Web is a application which runs kind of partially on your side inside your browser, but of course it also connects remotely to that server. That server being here in the University of Dundee. It's where I'm sitting, but not at my desk. This is just an office in the university, and the server is very remote to me as well. And it's containing some images. All the images which we will use are practically on that server, except for the ones which you will import using in a training very soon. Okay, how will you import them? That's the missing bit of the slide. There is another application on the desktop called Omero Insight, and this application is missing from the slide, and we are using it mainly to import images. Okay. And then we have Fiji highlighted here, which will be shown tomorrow with the plugin for Fiji. And then we have the QPath, which is also not highlighted here. Okay, so these would be all on this side of the internet. The blue bar is denoting internet, and the server with images and the database is sitting in Dundee. Okay, so that's what we will be doing in these 2 days. And we are a grant-funded organization. I mean the OME team. So we thank to our sponsors, mainly the Wellcome Trust and BBSRC in UK. And so we are producing an open source. This means that you can see the code free. This means that you don't have to pay for the software. And we are then funded by external funders. Nevertheless, of course, and we will come back to that, if you want to communicate with us and want support, we have some rules for that. Okay? And the main rule is that we communicate via image SC. Okay, so if you have a problem, you go to image SC and you put a tag of Omero. Image SC is a kind of a discussion platform about images, and you just ask your question there. Okay, so this would be for the presentation. Now, inside the link, which Jean-Marie can maybe ping again, we have, so in your chat, you will find in a second a link which will lead you to the PDF, which contains the step-by-step walkthrough of today's workshop. Okay, and just let's take a breather there and give me some feedback if you really do have that in front on your screen in front of you, ladies and gentlemen. Just mainly speak up if not. Okay, so you just click on that link, which is then posted by Jean-Marie Bourrel, and then be happy. Okay, if not, then just tell me why. Okay, so we will of course start with day 1, where we will go through importing data into Omero. Now, this is not true because you wanted to show to the import to be shown. So although it says not shown, it's just a reminder from last. So we will show import right now, and we will use the desktop client called Omero Insight. Okay. And I think that Joanna distributed to you an email which told you how to install Omero Insight. Now you might have not managed, so try to ask us if you didn't install Omero Insight, if you didn't have time, if you couldn't be bothered, or if it just didn't work. And Jean-Marie can try to chat it out, but this is exactly the hard part on Zoom. The main, I mean, quite important is that you simply follow what we are saying here. We have also a walkthrough for that, and if I open this link in a new tab, you can see that this is the walkthrough we are going to follow. Okay, and we have a video on YouTube channel which also goes through those steps. I mean, I'm sure that Jean-Marie would be able to find the link to the video directly. You have it in the email from Joanna as well. How to install Omero Insight. Basically, you go to Open Microscopy website. Then you go Products Omero, and you click on Download version, whatever there is. It's 5.6 at the moment, and then you scroll down. Now the confusing part is only this one. It says Omero Clients. You remember the word client? This actually means Omero Insight. Okay, and the Omero Insight is in those three boxes. Obviously, you will choose very often Windows because you're sitting on a Windows machine, or Mac or Linux, depending on your local operating system, and then you click on this button and the download will start. You downloaded tons of stuff from internet, I'm sure already. I will not bore you with that. After the download is done, it will pop a new icon here in the downloads folder, or you will find it. You simply click on it and the installation is natural. Okay, so if you didn't do that, I will not go through that because the download will take time. I will just start my Insight, and then we can touch base on that. Where are you, ladies and gentlemen, with respect to this workflow? After I downloaded and installed the application, as I said, the installation is indeed trivial. Okay, it's very trivial. It's almost as easy as when you install Fiji, which is basically just 2 clicks. And
you will nonetheless require to have Java installed on your machine. So that could be sometime, depending on the permission and how the university operates, you might require IT to do that for you.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, unless you are such case that you don't have any Java on your machine, of course, in majority of cases it should be just fine. So I will start my Omero Insight. Okay, like on the Mac it goes. I'm sitting on Mac. I'm finding that my Omero Insight is already started. That's not what I wanted. So I start again. Okay, now it's really starting. You can see the jumping hexagon here, and it takes a second, and then we'll come up with something which we call a splash screen. It's basically like a the first screen before the login. You can call it login screen as well. Okay. Now I need your feedback now, yeah, to gauge how much I'm losing you or not. So who is not seeing that screen of Omero Insight? Can you just kind of say in the chat or do something so that we can see that you are alive?
I can see at least.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sarah. Yes, of course, but I can see that this means I have it on my screen. I mean, hopefully everybody can see the screen on my screen, but this means, Sarah, that you have it in front of you in your own environment. You have your own Insight running, isn't it so?
Yes, I also have it. I had to use the sorry, the IT to do that because of it wasn't so easy, but yeah, now I have it.
Excellent, and thank you very much for that effort. Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much for your feedback. So now it comes to this email, which you probably received very recently from Joanna. Joanna was so kind and sent an email to each of you where there is a list with your usernames, which looks something like this. Okay. Now I need you. There is not something really informative in that list except that number. Okay, so for example, I need you to know that if you are Sarah Hernandez, okay, then you are user 3, whereas if you are Sarah with a Finnish surname, then you are user 20. Okay, so I just need you to remember that one number. Okay, that's what this email is for you. And if you have that number, you have your so-called login credentials. The login credentials go like this. Okay, I am user dash, and now comes the number. So the Sarah with the Finnish name, sorry, is just typing 20 there, and that's her username. Yeah. I will use user 40 because I'm sure that none of you is using that user, and the password is being popped in the chat by Jean-Marie, please. I will not say the password aloud because we are on recording. Again, raise your voice. Don't say the password, but raise your voice if you are not clear what the password is. Okay. And after I've put in the password, I will click login. Now, that was wrong of me, okay, and that was too fast. So I will quit Insight and go again. I'm sure that you will appreciate that because this is a step which will potentially lose your participation and attention if you don't go over this hurdle. So I've put in correctly my credentials, but unlike me, you probably were confronted with some unpleasant messages, okay? The reason for that might be that your server address is not set.
Sorry, Peter, which one was the highest number you gave in the list? I missed that. Because
29 or 30.
29. Oh, so if you use 31 and user.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. In the list, the last highest user is 29. Okay, so this is what Joanna sent, and for yourself, as you were joining later, ladies and gentlemen, then you can use the high numbered users except user 40, because so anything between 30 and 50. But let me come back to this one. You can see that here is an all-important line, which is basically a death or lifeline. If you don't get this right, you are not connecting to the server. And this is the server address. So Omero Insight out of the box is of course capable of connecting any server to any Omero server in the world, as long as the version numbers are compatible. The version number is always here on the bottom, and we are working with 562. And in order to make Omero Insight aware of the correct server you are connecting to, you have to click on this spanner. You can see that I have quite a few servers in my list here. What you will see there is a local host only. Okay, all this is empty for you, and the local host is reigning supreme, but it's patently wrong. Okay, you never have a local host. You always have to click first, but this is done just one, okay, on this plus icon over here, and then enter server address. And in our case, the server address is all outreach open microscopy.org. Yeah, I just type it there, then I click OK. Okay, don't be now confused that I'm clicking cancel because I have it already in my list. You click OK, and after you clicked OK, then in your list there will be a new item, outreach openmicroscopy.org, and whilst this item is selected, you click apply, and voila, you will have here the address of the server next to the spanner which says outreach.openmicroscopy.org, not localhost. So I'm confident that you caught this idea. It's not a rocket science, and I will log in again. So after that, I will put in the password, which is in the chat, and I will click the login button. And by that, the thing which is running locally on my Mac here in my office in Dundee is connecting to the server, which is here somewhere in the University of Dundee complex, and we call that server outreach. Okay. Now, I'm confronted with some list of images, and we will explore them in Omero Web in a second. But as you are here mainly for this part of the workshop to learn how to import data, then I will go straight through that. So for me, the most natural way how to get to the importer is to remember that this is the fifth icon from the left, the upward facing blue arrow, which is pointing to the OME logo. I click on that arrow, and the importer pops up in a new window. And here on the left, I'm browsing the local files on my Mac. Okay, I have here a couple of PNGs. I can select a couple of them or many of them as I see fit, or I can select a whole folder and pop it onto the queue in the right-hand side. Now, once I clicked this pop it into the queue button, a new so-called import location window came up. This imports in my default group, which is for us Lab 1 group. And then there are two levels of hierarchy in Omero, two levels of containers, project and dataset. Now I can create a new project and dataset. If I work with high content screening data, I would probably go here and create a new screen. But for the mainstream, this is typically not so. If you have let's say, if you are thinking about a vanilla Omero, and you can create a new project like so. A new window pops up, and you say new project, whatever. Okay, but I will do none of that. I will just go ahead and click on Add to the queue, and I will use the feature which is highlighted here as a default, saying New From Folder. What does that mean? Well, Insight is kind of clever enough to harvest the name of the original folder which was containing the images in your local machine, and then create a new dataset for you and pop the images into that dataset. So if I click Add to the queue, the three images are here, and I can click it and import, and the images are being imported from my local Mac into the Omero server. So you are doing hopefully the same for yourself. Okay, and once you've done that, you would expect them to be in the tree, which is basically browsing the server, but this is not so, because you have to click on the refresh button. This is a feature. Imagine that you are doing a lot of stuff in Omero Insight and also importing, and then the new imports will be constantly popping up and the tree would be refreshing. You have to click the refresh button. After you've done that, you can see that there is a new data set, as we call it in Omero, called desktop. And these are those three images I just imported in front of you. Okay. Now, I think that would be the very basic import. I can click again on that upward facing arrow and show you, let's say, very quickly, if I go in my local hierarchy, this is my Finder on my Mac. And if I go into desktop and create a, let's say, a new folder, Turku import, all right. And then I will say that I will copy and paste an image into that newly created folder. Okay. And then I will go and using Omero Inside, I can go back and forth a little bit so that I can refresh it, and I will find the just created folder, and I will import the image into I will import the whole folder into Omero. Can you see? I mean, that's the folder. It contains, in my case, one image, but of course it could contain 100 or 2000 indeed. Yeah, there is no limit in Omero. It will just show you a different UI. I will say that I will create a data set, and its name is Turku2. Okay, and say create, add to the queue. And now the whole folder with that many images as they are, I mean, in my case, it's just one, will be imported into Omero. So this was my second import, and I'm having here the Turku2 data set, which I just created, and the image there. I mean, I'm importing ridiculously small PNGs to save time, but of course, you might play with that. Nevertheless, don't import gigabytes. Okay, it will don't do that. Just let's say stay in 100 megabytes during the training, please, because we have limits, size limits on the server, and we would not be able to sustain that. The server, as it is, will be available for you, ladies and gentlemen, for 14 days after the workshop. Okay, after that, you can consider the data out of reach for you, and you are not able to use that particular server, which we are now offering, which is called Outreach. You have nevertheless your own server in Finland, and you should ask the administrators in Finland about the server address mainly, and how your username and password is constructed and created, possibly with the cooperation of the IT with the institution in Turku. I'm sure Joanna knows much more about that than myself, but that's how things work. So this training server is available for you to further play and explore for 14 days after today. But after that, the passwords will stop working. So don't import anything really valuable. You have also then another option, and this is to use our demo server. Demo server is a server which we keep kind of indefinitely, but again, you can't import gigabytes, terabytes of data there. It's kind of free for all. And we reserve the right to delete your data without notice because it's a demo server. Yeah? For real, sustained, protected work, you have your Turku server. Okay, and you will find out for yourself, please, how to use it. So this is, we imported using Omero Inside. Now, just again, raise your voice if you didn't manage to import. If you are confused by the import workflow, you should not be confused at this moment. You should be able to understand what happened here in front of you. That's actually pretty crucial. How could you import and how will you import your data into Omero? Okay, so I will just check the chat. Okay, Joanna is very good. Sehr good. Okay, so if there are no questions on this particular topic, we will go into Omero Web. Okay. Why do we go to Omero Web? Because Omero Web is our main client. Why is it our main client? Because we invest the most of our time and effort into that client, and it's the most modern of those clients which we have in Omero. And yeah, we can support only what we can. So the Omero Insight is nowadays used mainly for imports. What I'm showing to you is a natural workflow. Albeit you might kind of protest. That's how it is. It is giving you quite a few advantages though, because being inside Omero Web, you will have the applications at your fingertips. So I'm now going to a URL. So this is basically an internet address, which is called outreach.openmicroscopy.org. And Jean-Marie will ping it again in the chat, I'm sure. And if I do that, I'm confronted with a login page. This looks very much like what I called splash screen in Omero Insight. And it's just another means how you are connecting yourself to a server, to an Omero server. And we would recommend that from the point where you imported your images, you can log into Omero Web and work on from there. Now, I just did so as user 40, and unsurprisingly, I'm here in my portfolio. I can see what I imported in Turkutu, etc. So I hope that you managed to log into Omero Web now. And I will now go and show you where are we. So we are in a group. The Omero users are organized in groups. You can be a member of one or more groups, and the groups have a very important aspect that they are enabling cooperation. So you can see or not the images and your peers in your group. It depends on the permission levels on that group. So we have permissions, private, read only, read annotate, and read write, and it says it does what it says on the tin. So we are in a yes.
2 seconds. I need. I was listing other things in the meantime, so need to catch up with the link to the website. If you give me 2 seconds. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry.
So yes, so this is the link. I'm on the https outreach.openmicroscopy.org web client, login, whatever. Yeah, just click there and log in into the Omero server. And after you did, you will see the tree here, and you will have a name. This is your name, okay? My name is Rosalind Yellow for the purposes of this workshop. You might protest, but that is it. That's what you can do. It will not help. The reason why is because you are here. That is because you are on a training server. Okay, I didn't know your names up front. You registered a little bit late, and anyway, I would not do that. It's just too complex to start renaming the users, and don't do that either. You have to live with the fact that, let's say here on the top right, you are a Charles Darwin. Okay, sorry if you are a lady, but at least he's famous enough to be proud of that. And or I'm, you know, by the name of Lady Rosalind Yellow. These are famous scientists, obviously, and they are just demonstrating that you can have a reasonable name in Omero. On your Finnish server, of course, the names will match with your civic name, the human name you are using in real life. How this is achieved again is up to Joanna. There is a feature in Omero which is called Ldap. This means that it can synchronize the usernames with the usernames in the institutional login treasure, so to say, login store. So every day when you're coming to your institution in Turku, then you open a computer, you certainly have to log in, and that login name and password is stored somewhere. So Omero can connect to this store and harvest the passwords there. I'm sure that almost certainly you will do that like that, but if not, it doesn't matter. It will somehow get your username and password, and it will be reasonable. Now we are here members of the Lab1 group, which is a read-annotate group, and we can cooperate with each other. I just clicked on the top left and navigated to Lab1, and there is a list of the famous scientists. These are my colleagues. These are my peers in the same group, and these are yourself as well, some of you, majority of you. And nevertheless, I will navigate to data of trainer 1 straight down. So once more, click on the top left, Lab1, drive down and click on trainer 1. Having done that, I can see the trainer 1 has bigger portfolio. I'm now browsing data of somebody else. If I want to go back, I have to remember that I am Rosalind Yellow. I can see that on the top right where my name is, whereas on top left, it's written whose data I'm browsing. And I'm browsing the trainer 1's data at the moment. So my names on the top right and on the top left are differing. So that's how you can find your footing, okay? So Rosalind Yellow is alphabetically just right here, and I can go back to Rosalind Yellow. And again, fourth to trainer 1, okay? Just like so. And I just said that we have in Omero varying types of data. You have projects containing datasets. Datasets are the green containers, projects are the gray-blue. And you have various imaging modalities. This is a super resolution microscopy images. These are the whole slide images. You can zoom in into the thumbnail preview, which is in the center pane. The tree obviously is in the left-hand side pane. And so this image is seriously big. It has, let's say 200,000 by 200,000 pixels. And we will work with something like that tomorrow in the QPath workflow. It's NDPI, so another format than the TIFFs I was showing to you right now. You have some DVs here, Delta Vision. You have again yet another type of very large images. We support time-lapse and Z-stacks and multi-channel images, and this is what we call a 5D image. So if I say image, I don't mean what we call plane in Omero. I mean the 5D structures. So multi-T, multi-Z, etc. It's still one image in Omero. And I can.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Could you please zoom in a bit? Make the fonts bigger, tiny bit.
You mean on the?
Yeah, is that possible?
Yes, of course it is.
Thanks.
Anything is possible.
Awesome.
Is that good enough? Or not?
Yes, it's easier to read now. Thanks.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for the feedback. I will try to stay on this Zoom. Now we have here some, as I said, some images, and on the right-hand side there are most important metadata. So you have here the name of the image and the image details, and these are read from the file as it's being imported from Omero inside. Okay, and of course, very importantly, how many channels and how many Z sections you have. So I will go to my favorite data set called siRNAi HeLa. You can see these are very nice images, and I can see that there is some there are some metadata to them. So the most important metadata which are from the file are in the general pane on the right hand side. In the acquisition pane, then there are the rest of them, so to say. So what is in the file as I'm importing it from, let's say, the Microscopy machine into Omero, then it comes into that tab, and all is here. There are plenty of data, but it's not very user friendly. So if I want it to be more user-friendly, we wanted it to be more user-friendly, and that's why we have something called Omera Model. This is basically a schema where we know something about images, and we know if there is an item in the list called Microscope, we know more or less what it can contain as sub-items, and then we read that list and put it into this relational database I was highlighting in my talk, and then we put those data into those harmonica where they are much more user-friendly, just like I'm showing to you right now here in the right-hand pane, and you can get the original metadata from here. Very good. Then we have a preview tab in the right-hand side, and you can see that you can change the rendering settings. So this is basically the way the images are displayed on the screen. It doesn't change the original file. We never change the original file. We don't manipulate the original image, which is stored in Omero in full and as imported with the proprietary file format. So we don't have any intermediate format. We don't transform the images into OME TIFFs. No, we don't do that. We store the original format, and when you click on that format, you download and want to download, you download the original format. So you gave me DV into Omero, and you click on download button, and you get back a DV. The way Omero is handling those multitude of formats is that it will just use the bioformats library every time on the fly when you click on the image, and then open it in a full viewer, which we will see in a second. Now for the rendering settings, I can see that the rendering settings here are quite wild. This is from the previous workshop. You might see something different. I will just go through that. So these are the channels, and I can click and unclick them from the display. And I know that this Ldap probably should be blue, and I can change the coloring here. I can click on blue, and you can see it. This is how you probably are seeing that image. So I clicked on the pencil icon. We are supporting all the LUTs lookup tables which ImageJ is supporting, and then I can say save, and this will change the icon here. So the thumbnail and the new rendering settings will be saved on the server, like so. Okay. So this is the most simple manipulation. I can change the display. Again, nothing of that is changing the original file. You can think about the rendering settings as a pair of goggles, which I'm viewing the images with. Now, a short workflow. I have a data set here, and I would like to see the images and compare the staining which was done in a green channel. So for that, I will switch off all the channels and then just highlight the green. Okay, change the rendering settings on that one. I can save that on this one. So and then compare the staining in the green channel within the whole data set, and this is done by clicking Save to All. So if I click Save to all the thumbnails will change here, and I will not have to worry about setting the display settings on each one separately, because Omero did it for me. All of them have 35 as a minimum and 501 as a maximum on the green channel. And now I can start doing my science. So I know that I can filter the images by name, and inside the name, I have my controls, which are highlighted with the word in. So if I start typing in, then I can see that my controls are indeed black. Okay, so that's how it is. If I, on the other hand, start typing the word Scrum, this is my experiment, and I can see that the experiment kind of worked. These are a bit darker, whatever, but this is exactly the point where I'm enabled to do my science. So with one click, I was able to judge whether or not the staining in the green channel worked. Okay, now I can now save to all again, or I can go back to the previous rendering settings. On the left hand side, I can click on the tree and then say set imported and save. Okay. Okay. So, and this is now setting the images back as they were at the time when I started to import. Furthermore, I can show the cooperation aspect. You can see that plenty of colleagues already viewing the images of trainer 1. I'm now viewing images of trainer 1. This is on the top left. Being Rosalind yellow, this is on the top right. And I can now pick the rendering settings of Caroline Dean and apply them. I can again say save to all. So you can see that each of the users have their own rendering settings, but because they are viewing somebody else's images, then it's the rendering settings pertaining to that image. You also have your own images in your own portfolios. They are similar, but not the same. This is a quirk of the training server. Okay, the training server has same sets of images for each of you, dear scientists, colleagues in the same group. But this is untypical situation because this is a training. In a real life on the Finnish server, of course, each of you will have your own images which are basically reflecting the science you are doing, which is definitely different than your neighbor in the office. But for the training server, I have to work with a homogeneous set of images so that you don't get confused, which is of course the highest danger here. So if I click on the Caroline Dean, I can go and save to all as well. And then the images are rendered again with the settings of Caroline Dean, and my own Rosalind yellow settings changed as well. Okay, on that image of trainer 1. As I highlighted, I also have my own portfolio, and you know by now how to navigate to that. I can go to Lab 1 and navigate to Rosalind yellow. This is possible. This cooperation is possible because we are in a read annotate group, so I can read and annotate other people's images. The other people was in this case trainer 1. For myself, who is Rosalind yellow. Okay, I think I would slowly give space to the break. We are in an hour, and after the break, I will be showing you how to view the images in Omero iViewer and draw some regions of interest. We will need that for tomorrow when we work with QPath and Fiji, and I will then highlight the other features, the annotations possibilities, and within the management, and then we can end today with Omero Parade. And tomorrow we will do Fiji and QPath, mainly because that was something you were repeatedly asking for. And you just remind me, please, Joanna, not to forget to show the high content screening just after the break. Yeah, thank you. So we have 15-minute break right now. According to my clock, this will be at 20 past the hour. 20 minutes past the hour, we reconvene here. Joanna, you are saying something?
Yeah, I was just saying sounds good. Or we can also do 10 minutes if that's enough for people.
So what do you think, dear participants? Let's do 10 minutes.
Let's do 10, so 1/4 past.
Yes, thank you. 1/4 past, we reconvene, and feel free to ask now. First, let us try to answer important question of Mayank. Is Mayank here?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Mayank. Thank you very much. I know that the break was too short. So you can see our answers with Jean-Marie about your question whether because you seem to be bent on having a local server because you don't want to communicate with Omero via internet possibly. It very much depends on so the technical possibility of having a local server is there, that's for sure. Yeah. And so the developers such as Jean-Marie are working with their local servers when they're developing the code of Omero, but I'm not sure that's what you want to do, Mayank. I would have the gut feeling that you are a scientist and you just want to have everything nicely locally. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so for you, we would not recommend to do it like that. Simple reason. Locally means what? Well, you probably have some laptop or desktop and your data will be sitting on the laptop or desktop. Omero is trimmed to be like for a lot of people, and it will be also taken care of. Like the images on the server are not there just one day they are there and the other day they are not. Okay, this cannot be like that. The server is taken care of the IT department, and if let's say the space runs out, then the responsibility of the institution running that server, like let's say the Abo University, is to kind of blow up that space to make it bigger. Okay, they can do it, and they will also do a backup, security checks on the server, etc., etc., which you normally do with every old server. Yeah. For Omero running locally on your laptop, you will not enjoy very much the features, and you will have constant struggle with keeping up the Omero server as well as the Omero client on your laptop. Okay, so it's not very practical. If you have some proficiency in IT, if you are not scared, for example, of a command line, you might be thinking about that, but it's not what people are doing. And then the data are out with of the big pot. Okay, they are not backed up, they are not secured, they are completely at the vagaries of your laptop. Your laptop will be lost at the railway station. That's your data lost. Okay, with Omero, that's not the case. That's kind of the reason for existence. One of the big reasons for existence of having Omero as a remote server. You will have to be careful about, I will show you a couple of publications just in a second, okay? You would have to install them locally. You will not have by default Omero iViewer, Omero Figure, etc., because they have to be installed separately. You will have to know to find out how to do it on your local server. And you will have to go through a bit of digging and asking and stuff like that, okay? So although this is technically possible, you can have the server inside a Docker, but then you of course ask what the hell is Docker, and you see I'm not really sure if this is something for you. I would guess not, but
no, I was thinking more of a possibility of sometimes using it as a local image viewer, because its functionality is really convenient. Usually I have to drag and drop every single image and image if I want to check. So if it's possible to view everything in one box window setup, that would be really convenient. But I'm not planning to go through the whole process of setting everything up. So it sounds good either way. Thanks.
Well, now can we just get our head around of the really convenient? I think I'm going to show you how to work with Omero now, and you will be able to do stuff locally. This is the trick of Omero. Okay, all those things are remote, you still can work with them. Okay, so so let's just go through that. Okay, maybe we will understand each other better just after this part. So let's say that I'm here on the server, okay, and we just went through the initial part where I was showing to you how to work with the rendering settings. And I'm here on my data set siRNA HeLa, and I can now, let's say, click on the image, okay, there are thumbnails. These thumbnails are remote, but I can view them locally. Of course, I'm sitting here in Dundee. I'm not in a privileged position, and so are you with respect to the server. We are both connecting to the server via internet. And now if I want to, let's say, open the image in a full viewer and start working with it, like having everything on my fingertips, if I understood your intention right, Mayank, then I can go and select, let's say, this image. Okay. Can you see that it has 40 Z sections? Okay. The image is remote. So is the thumbnail. I'm just viewing it via internet. Yeah. But now I can click on that image and a viewer opens. The viewer is actually remote as well. It's installed on the server. It's the responsibility of the administrator of the Omero server to install that Omero iViewer, which just opened. That's what we are viewing now. It's a main full viewer. And I can now scroll through Z because this is a multi-Z section image. Okay. I can do it here from the office in Dundee, but you can do it from Turku. The images are still in Dundee, down the hill here, 300 meters from me in another building, okay? I can do it from Singapore, okay? My laptop can be in Singapore and I can still do that, what I'm showing to you right now. You can do that, please, with me, okay? So I'm scrolling through Z. The Omero iViewer is a 2D viewer which is able to view the Z and T time lapses as well. So going through Z as I'm showing, and the T axis, in case it would be a time lapse, would be on the bottom bar. It is not a time lapse, so it has just one time point. And on the left-hand side, I have the other peers from the same container called dataset in Omero here. This opens automatically. Okay, so I can also do this. I can select a couple of images like so from the same or in the different data sets. If I go back into the tab where my so-called web client is, and then let's say right click and then say open with Omero iViewer, and just particularly those three images from very different data sets can be seen. Okay, so this is another set which I'm viewing in Omero iViewer, so to say. So I'm going back to the Scrum image, which is 40 Z sections, and I'm exploring the regions of interest. And so, for example, and this is against the remote, okay? The reason why is it kind of fast is that Omero iViewer is going clever about fetching the data and pushing them via internet to me. So, for example, if I have here a plane Z25, then Omero iViewer will fetch plane 25 because it uses the Omero application programming interface and says, dear Omero, give me the plane 25. I don't want a 26, I don't want a 27, okay? Just this one plane will go through the wire and quickly render on my screen here locally. So I can do it like that. Then I want to draw a region of interest. On the right-hand side, I have a pane where there are rows, and I can, let's say, draw a rectangle on the plane number 18. And I have to do it differently than in image J. It's just a habit thing. I can click. Now I can show you that my finger is here, okay? I'm not holding the mouse down. Then I drag and the square is going bigger as to my wish, and then I click again, okay? So this is how to draw a square. Region of interest, you can see you can put a comment here, like new Roy, and it pops up immediately here on the image. You can draw regions of interest on your or somebody else's images as well. Now I can draw a arrow or line. I can do some very rudimentary analysis here already in this dialog. Okay. If I want to draw a polyline, let's say on another plane, I will go to Z22 and I will draw a polyline around this nucleus. So I will press Shift. Okay, press Shift on my keyboard with this finger. Hold it down. So I can't show you now my left hand side middle finger. And dragging the mouse, so I can't show you my right hand either, both are busy. One is pressing the button on the mouse and drawing with my wrist the region of interest with freehand like that, and the other is holding a shift on my keyboard. Okay, now I'm done, and the polyline is done as well, and I have a new region of interest. Now, if I want to jump from one region of interest to the other, I can see on the plane 22, I can see the polyline, and if I jump back to the square, I'm on Z plane 18. So let's draw one more on Z plane 10, and this will be, I'm sorry, I was saying silly-nilly that this is a polyline. It's of course a polygon, okay? So if I go to the plane 10, I can really do now draw a true polyline such as this. Okay, so this will be done again by holding the shift, and I have polyline, polygon, and square. Very good. So if I click on the square, the viewer is jumping in the main window to the correct Z plane. Very good. So I have 3 regions of interest. And now if I click and select all of them and I click save to save those regions of interest, then I can do some more image analysis by simply going to Royce. So once more, I selected all of them and I saved them. I go to Royce and I say export as Table CSV. Now my Firefox is asking me that there is some comma separated value file to download, and I say okay. And once I've done that, I will have in my downloads a new file called Scrum, whatever, and I can open it in Microsoft Excel. And in a second, you will see what I have here is some analysis which I've done, okay? So just for you, Mayank, that image is not locally in my office on the Mac I'm working on. It is simply not there. I've done the analysis remotely. The image is still sitting remote. I didn't have to drag it down through thicket of internet, okay? I just viewed the correct plane. I draw my regions of interest and I am having the analysis here. In a very similar manner, will be shown tomorrow how to use Omero when you are using Fiji or QPath. That's similar, okay? You drag through the internet only what you need. You leave the big beast nicely on the server. It's taken care for you there by administrator, and you work only locally with what you need. You don't need it all locally, but still you have it on your fingertips. Okay, it's all there on the server. You can move your laptop to whatever. You can switch your laptop. You can change the machine. You still have access, because as long as you have any internet access, you will be able to do that.
So there's a question in the chat, if you could show again how to download the CSV with the Royce.
Absolutely, of course. Thank you. So step 1 is I have some rows. They are selected in this table on the right-hand side, okay? They are also saved. The button save here on the right-hand side is grayed out for me because there's nothing to save. All my changes are saved, okay? Then on the top left, there are 3 menu items, File, Royce, and Help. I click on the Royce on the top left, and I click on Export as Table CSV. After that, my Firefox is asking me whether I want to directly open with Excel or save the file. So let's say this time I will say open. This open nevertheless means actually download and open, okay? It's just a shorthand from my operating system here. It will download and open the file in Excel. So these are 2 steps in one breath. And this Excel file is already locally on my machine, okay? Was it clear enough? For the second?
Yes, thank you. I do have a follow-up question based on what you said.
Yes.
If you click on that button to save the ROI, is that saved as metadata to the image or as some other object entirely within Omero?
So
it's another
the question.
It's similar to the rendering settings. Nothing go back into the original image. It's a piece of metadata attached, saved into the, in that case, in the relational database.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So you were actually asking about saving the rendering settings, or what were you asking?
The ROI.
The ROIs. So
yes.
It goes into a database according to what?
Yes, absolutely. It's not
exactly.
Yeah. So you can imagine the database as kind of cloud of objects, okay, which are hovering above the original file, which is sitting at the back and bottom of all things, and is only being referred to, not manipulated with. You see the difference. There is simply a link, a thread on which the file is hanging, and you can then imagine like a so-called graph with nodes and lines between them, and the whole balloon of object is hanging on that. One object is called image. Yeah, it's just a hibernate object, and then from there is a link to another object which is called ROI. Okay, but these are very lightweight things, and the heavyweight image is sitting nicely there on the bottom and is only being referred to, so that we don't lose but not changed, not rewritten, not added to, not anything. Yeah.
There's a question by Joanna about how we define the exported measurement. It's currently hard-coded, so, but if it's something we need to revisit as a community, if people think we need to extend it, that's something we can do, because we already discussed us like saving the very minimum, and then people want more information about that region of interest, and then it's been a kind of a low priority compared to other things. So it really, if there is an urgent need to review that, then we can do that, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. So the balance here is, I'm just showing you the file as it is, and what you see there, that's what you get. Okay, you might want something else. You are probably expecting something which Fiji has, and this would be something like define the columns in my measurements table. Okay, that would be like a peer, but my recommendation in this case would be simply use Fiji. I will show you how tomorrow. Okay, so you connect Fiji to Omero, and you will define your columns, and you will have much richer table as we do, and you do your analysis there. Of course, if our users insist that we must make this script better, then once we get to that, we probably will. But yeah, at the moment, it is as it is. There is yet another.
Yes, I have another question.
Go for it.
To address Johanna's question. So each of the rows in the file, does it represent the cells, or what does it represent?
Okay, thank you. So this is actually a very nice question, because it goes into my flow. So each row is one channel, okay, per ROI. So you see 9 rows. This is slightly confusing because we have a 4-channel image. Okay, 9 doesn't divide by 4, but 9 does divide by 3. Why 3? It is because although we have a 4-channel image, if I go here to the settings, you can see that the 4th channel is off. Can you see how it's kind of grayed out? Because the channel is off, that's why the script didn't consider that channel when it was creating that table. Okay, and you can see that the names of the channels are somewhere here: channel, 400 something. So the blue one, 527, 28, this will be the green one, and the red is 617. And then the other red, which is probably in 700 or 800, okay, is simply not there because it's switched off. So this is the first thing, and you can see that this is the type is polyline. So this is our polyline ROI in 3 channels. This is the first 3 lines. Then we have polygon, and then we have a rectangle. So I've drawn 3 ROIs. 3 ROIs by 3 channels is 9 lines. Is that kind of clear?
Yes.
Yes,
Thanks.
excellent. These are of course the names of the images, and you can see that the ROI ID is always 3 and 3. So ROI and shape are also actually containers if you want to. Okay, now it's very simple because for each ROI contains 1 shape. Okay, so you don't have to break your head over it, but you can see that these numbers are altering as well in a logical way, as you would expect. For the ROIs which have a length like polyline, you have the length, whereas for the ROIs which encompass area, you have area. This is calibrated according to the calibration, so which is stored in Omero, and you can see the calibration. Actually, this is quite important always. You can see the calibrations here in the web client, just like this. Pixel size is 0.07, 0.07, 0.20 micrometers. This is what was imported. This was imported like that into Omero. And I will now go back to iViewer and show the very popular feature of iViewer, where you can view more images. So first of all, as the ROI is obviously quite important for you guys, let me show you what about this lock here. Okay, so this polyline is on plane 10, but if I click and unlock this lock on the Z, I can have the ROI which hovers kind of over all planes. Okay, so if I go now and scroll through Z, you can see the ROI, the polyline ROI is on each and every plane. It's because I disassociated with a particular plane. If you have more ROIs and more planes, then they are then stored or shown in this planes view. That's very nice. Now let me show you the viewing in Multiview. Yes, so let me do the multi-view, then we go back to web client. I will go through the HCS, and then we will do the search, because that gentleman with his question where the things are lost, I forgot his name, is maybe still looking for his image. I would like to give him a hand, so we will make a swap. The feature which is sometimes asked for is so-called split view. This is let's view the channels side by side so that I can compare them visually. I have here a 3-channel image. I can open many viewers here in iViewer. I just clicked out the ROIs pop-up, and I can do it like so. I can either drag and drop the same image onto the canvas from the left, like I'm doing now, and a new viewer will open, and I can do it this, or I can double click on the same thumbnail and a new viewer will open. Okay, why am I doing it? This is of course serving some other purposes, which I will show in a second, but mainly I want to show you how to do a so-called split view. So for example, in split view, you would like to have here in this image a blue channel, in this image a green channel, in this image a red channel, and that's how you do it. Okay, so I just went into the settings tab and accordingly switched on and off the channels which I need for this particular viewer. Now if I pan around, or goes through Z, you can see that it pertains only to this particular channel. So how could I synchronize the viewers? I can do it by clicking on the top left and then selecting the first lock, which means select the first synchronization group. Like that, I put all 3 viewers into the same synchronization group. And when I do the next action, like panning, then the viewers start to get synchronized. And so it is when I scroll, and what is synchronized is highlighted here on the top bar, as well as I can now scroll through Z, and this is synchronized as well. Can you see that? Okay. So this is the multi-view synchronization view. So once more, to understand the multi-view, it's documented, but sometimes it's hard to. So there are two moduses, modi. So you can drag and drop to a new pristine place, so to say, and this will open a new viewer, just like I did with a new image. Okay, or you can drag and drop the same image as I just did. You can drag and drop into an existing viewer, like so, and then it will replace the image in the existing viewer with the one which you just dragged and dropped there. You can do some very similar thing. You can, of course, close the viewers. You can do very similar thing by clicking. So if I have a viewer selected and I click once, like so, then I will replace the image inside that viewer. If I nevertheless double click on the thumbnail on the left, then I will be confronted with a new viewer window. Okay, is that clear? And if I want to close and come back to single view, then I can just do it like that. And I can, let's say fill the screen, and voila, here I am. Okay. I can also view large images, etc. But let's leave it there. We can come back to it maybe later. Let's now try and help the user to find OpenAI, the image. So, for example, I know how my image was called when I was importing it into Omero. That's why I can use the search bar on the top right. So, for example, I will use for the image which has Centrin in its name. Type it in. Okay. Then I have the Centrin images here. It shows results for all groups. I probably know that I imported into lab 1 only. This is quite a lot of images, and I can see that image in this list. Maybe not. But your image will be almost certainly with a wildly different name than the ones which we have already in Omero. So just feel free to look for that name. I can also look inside annotations, etc. But you didn't tag it yet. You can also look for the import date, which is of course today. So this will of course find nothing. Unfortunately, you have to know something about that image which you imported. So I think I imported an image, let's say Turku, okay, Turku 2. Like so, I know the name of the folder which I imported the image to, and that's why it was found here. That's the image I imported today. Okay, so if I go and say browse, then this will bring me to the original thing, and I know that my image was called binder badge. Okay, so if I go again and look for binder badge, okay, it will directly find that image. And again, if I want to know where that binder badge image is, I click on the browser. Are you getting there, OpenAI? Are you realizing what you could be doing in order to find the lost image?
I think I would try again.
Yeah,
because I typed the name, but it didn't show up, so I would try again. I would try to change the name and import again.
yes, thank you very much. I mean, you want to retrieve the name as precisely as possible. So for example, if I do binder badge, if I make two typos, like binder badge, okay, I will hit and it will not find anything because the term must match. So it will separate it into on the dash, it will separate it into two. So for example, if I go and say binder, yes, then search, it will find it. But if I say binder A and then search, it will not find it.
There is also usually there's an indexer. The data are, there's a system under the hood called Lucene that index the data. So sometimes you might have a few bit of delay. So if you are annotating quite a large amount and the indexer need to kicks in and index all the content, it's usually fairly quick. But if you do large import, that could take a bit of time.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, thank you for going through with that. The other way how to find out, and this is really absolutely sure way, and it's really fast. You can see that the images have IDs. Okay, so if I'm in Omero Insight and I know that I've imported that image, okay, it should have shown here in the Insight. Maybe you have that at least. Okay, if you have that view in Insight which you imported, or PME, then you can simply grab the ID from here and I copy it with Control-C, and then I go to my web and I say Control-V, just the ID number, and this is a preferred search, and it will directly find the image with that ID. There is no questions asked, no problems with typing or retyping.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so that is actually what we use with pleasure, because you see, you will not make a typo there. So this was a hint on the search function. I will come back to the search again once we go through the metadata, but mainly we go first through the HCS, okay? Because there was a direct question to that and we cannot make it unanswered. HCS stands for high content screening. It is a different type of containerage, so to say, in Omero. I already touched upon that when we were going through the introductory presentation. If I now navigate to the data of train 1, then I can see that train 1 has a bit richer data and indeed metadata. The screen played well is listed on the bottom. So there are plenty of images organized in projects and data sets. Again, you can see that the data set can be under projects. The images are under data sets. Some data sets are so-called orphaned. This means that they don't have the mother or father project, so to say. This is valid as well and perfectly fine. The images have to be sensibly under a data set. They cannot directly be under a project. But if they don't have a data set, even then they can be in the orphan folder at the bottom. This is less important. I don't imagine that you would like to work with the orphan folder. And we have also the other container type, and this is screen plate well. So we have screens, and inside that we have plates, and the plates contain wells. So once more, to remind you, if you are not familiar with this type of imaging, then it might surprise you a bit. This is kind of a representation of a either 96 or 300 whatever well plate. The 96 one is right here. Okay, it's called plate 1013. I can grab the link to directly to the plate from top right where the chain icon is, and then pop it for you in in the chat of the Zoom. Okay, like so. And you don't have to worry where that plate is. You can do that on, you can cooperate like that in Omero as well. You can basically link almost to any container or object, and then you click simply on that link and it will navigate exactly where I am. Okay, it will navigate exactly here in the trainer one's data. You don't have to change the group and look for the user, and so you just click on that link and you are there.
This would only work if you are logged in, obviously. If you share with somebody who doesn't have an account, that link will not work in that context, very specific context.
Yes, thank you. That is absolutely crucial, what Jean-Marie just said. We assume in this situation that we all have an account on that server. This is number one. Number two, that we are allowed inside the permission system to see that particular data. How to not to be allowed by the permission system, that's very easy. If you are not a member of the group where the data are, typically you are not allowed to see them. That's as easy as that. So these are all the assumptions which we are making here. And yeah, it's a question of security, but also accessibility and sharing, and we can go into that more if you like. Now we have the 96 well plate here in front of us. So this is a well inside that plate. I'm just clicking in here. You can see that I have an image, which is a different object inside Omero, which is contained in that well. I can have one or more. I can have one or more images. Okay. Okay, so Diane is asking, is it possible to link an image to a large group of students in a course where the teacher only wants the students to be able to work with one specific image? Well, yes, probably. If I understand your question right, you would be able or not able to see any image according to how I did set it up for you. So I set it up kind of generously, meaning that you have your own image as well as my image to view. Okay, I could have set it up also non-generously, and you would have only my image to view, and every one of us would be viewing the same image. This is not so. I did it generously in order to teach you that you can have your image as well as your colleague's image, and you can view both and work with both. I need to show you, give you a bigger portfolio where I have your image for yourself and somebody else's image for myself. Are the group tabs generated by the system administrator? Indeed, they are. Manager, or can users or group leaders? No, they cannot. So the system administrator in Omero, I would imagine Joanna, for example, would have rights to create a new user and new group. Okay, both of them are quite specific. Joanna can delegate the powers to create to so-called administrator with restricted privileges. That would be a person who would not have the right to do anything and everything, such as delete other people's data. This is usually not desirable. This person would be trusted, very trusted still, but would have only, let's say, the right to create users and put them into new groups. That would make a good sense, and then this person would do it for you. So you ask them and they create a new group. Nevertheless, the creation of new group is trivial.
To answer in the case of Diana, this is more or less how it works in Dundee when some students, there's a course, so they have their own dedicated Omero server, and they have more or less a group per course, and they only share certain images depending of the students attending the specific course. That is actually possible. The permission system will allow you certain flexibility. And as Peter alluded, you can have also give some what we call restricted administrator. You can decide to give a group of people only the right to analyze your data and attach the annotation. And one thing that probably Peter didn't have time to present, even when you import the data, you can do plenty of operation on the behalf of somebody else. So if I analyze your data, I will analyze it for you, but you end up being the owner of the output of the analysis. So then after you can delete them and do whatever you want. So we can allow this type of permission. It just boils down to how you want to collaborate basically with a group of people.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. That's all very, very important. Let me just quickly show you the workings of doing something on behalf of somebody else. Importantly is to realize that a user can be member of many groups. As many as there are groups in Omero, so many groups, so multiple might be the group membership of that user. Okay, so you can have a club card to any door, which is nonsensical in a way, because that would be a little bit too haphazard, but it is possible. So in a clever way, by means of creating a new targeted group for purpose X and putting only the people who have the right to do this and that, who are allowed to see the data in that group or not. Both people and data are inside groups, so you have to be careful there. You don't want to be person X to be in a group A and the data in a group B. That would not work. And also you want to keep the owners of the data. I mean, every object in Omero is owned by somebody. You want to keep the owners of the data and their data in the same group. Otherwise, you will get into trouble. But the data will not get lost, and it will be fixed by putting the people into the right containers again, and that will be done. But you have to be a little bit cautious, but it's not a rocket science again. And the important for other people is done like that. As Jean-Marie just said, I log in as trainer one who has the right to work for others. This would be, as we said, the administrators or the restricted administrators. I click on the import button and I can now go and say, I select the iViewer image and click on and you can see that I have here import for trainer one. And now I say, I import for Rosalind Yellow. I am a trainer one. Yeah, the agent here working in Omero Inside, his first name is trainer one and second name is trainer one. I can make it more visible by creating a new project and saying from trainer one, but it is Rosalind's. Okay, I create such a new project. I add it to the queue. It just kicks back because it's already in the queue. So now I add it into the queue and I import and it uploads. Okay, I can refresh. The tree, it's again, it's not here because this is not the portfolio I'm in. Okay, so that is a surprise. I will go to Omero Web and start searching maybe Rosalind, so that I can find the project. You can see that's the project I just created in Omero Inside. That's how I found it fairly quickly. And now I can go and browse the project. And I can see that already that I'm in a portfolio of Rosalind Yellow on the top left. Okay, not in the portfolio of trainer one as you would expect. Although trainer one did the action, all the stuff which trainer one created during import, such as the project, you see it's belonging to Rosalind Yellow. Under that is the data set and the image also all belong to Rosalind Yellow. In this way, trainer one did action for Rosalind Yellow, but Rosalind Yellow can now calmly go to her computer, sit down and work with her image in Omero with full rights. She can delete it, she can create new regions of interest, she can do whatever. So if the trainer one would be called importer for others to make it blatantly obvious, then this would be a workflow to consider, let's say. Okay. Yes, so I think we were going nevertheless through the link to the plate. I will just go back to the chat with advantage. Chat. Other groups.
Yeah, Janelle had a question about sharing. Did you answer that, Peter?
Just read the question aloud, please.
Would it be possible to share the link to the image so that people who have no account on the server can still view the image data and annotation?
Yes, it is. Thank you. This is then in a need to, so to say, to bypass the credentials barrier. Okay, so we are here on the server behind a barrier which the URL of the server, the link is public. It might not be. Yeah, it's again the choice of Joanna and the IT. But if it is public link, this means that from any place in the world, anyone can type into their browser this outreach.openmicroscopy, and they will navigate to this page. Okay, but then they will be stopped, of course, because they don't have any credentials, they don't have an account on that Omero server. Okay, and now you are asking if such person doesn't have an account on the Omero server, how do I go about that? How do I show him or her the data which are in Omero server, say displayed? Okay, you have to do a little bit of a prep. You have to pop in. I'm sorry, I logged out, of course, in one tab, and now it's logging me out everywhere. So you have to create a new group in your server. Let's say call it public group. Okay, it's a read-only group. You create a user in Omero called public user. The public group is a BOK normal standard read-only group, and you move the data into that group. Now you might say, oh, but the group, the plate should stay in the Lab1 group as well, no? Well, in that case, we have a workflow which will duplicate the plate. It's only on the command line, but nevertheless, it will duplicate the plate without proliferating the need for a space on your server. And then you can move the duplicate into that public group. Okay, and by virtue of being the public group, the people who are coming from the very outside will be able to go through that barrier of the login of this one without being asked a thing, and then they will navigate to an image in Omero. You can see it very obviously if I, let's say, go to IDR. Okay, that's the image data resource, and I can, let's say, go to this study. Okay, and then I can expand it, and I can grab the image URL like so. Then I go into the Zoom chat like so. And now any one of you can click on this link, which looks suspiciously similar to the one which I pasted, for which you had to have credentials. But for this IDR link, you don't have to have credentials. Why? Because IDR group is called public. You can see it. It gives a strong hint. And all the data in IDR are public. IDR is fully public, but your Finnish Turku Omero server can be mixed. We also have a mixed server, meaning some groups are non-public, some groups are public. The public groups we know because it has a public user as a member there. Then you can go ahead and distribute the links, and the world will be able to see them. The other groups will not be able to see them because they are protected by credentials. Okay.
But it might be that in your case, Janelle, I don't know if this is the case. We used to have the concept of sharing, because what the workflow that Peter is describing is for, at that stage, anybody, people you want. But if you want to restrict to say 5 potential collaborator and you give them that link only to those 5 people. We used to have the concept of share, which we have disabled for various reasons, but we're now working on other mechanism to put data in the cloud, where you will be able to have this type of limited access to a set of people. So that's kind of another way of making your data public, but to a limited set. So I think that we need to find an happy medium between having credential fully public. So I think we're working in the middle, because the previous version was not really. We slowly realized it was not only going to scale, because people were initially, we just put the image. Now they want the annotation, then they want the analytical result. They want, all the general knowledge associated to an image. So we were replicating in another context what the private environment was doing. So the log secure environment was doing. So, but that will come with the new effort we're working on.
Yeah, thank you very much for that answer.
Okay, so if that is clear, let me just wrap up on what because yeah, I'm constantly jumping away from this plate just to nail it down. And thank you for all the questions and interruptions. I mean, that's why we are here actually. And the Screenwell plate format is laid out like that because that whole thing with its 96 wells, the wells are objects. Inside the well is another object called image. Okay, these are two different things. You can click on the well and the first image inside the well will open. Okay, inside the wells you can have also a time-lapse images. Indeed. Yes, this one is a time lapse. Okay, so this is one of those 96 wells, which is the time lapse as well, and I can play it like that. Okay, so that's how I can view, store, and work with images. And you can see that there is a field position in well. This is trivial in this case, but this is like a map of those images which were shot inside one well. Okay, so if I would have more images, you can see some examples in the IDR. They will go like next one and next one here and next one here, and then yeah, then I can switch between the fields either here, and then I can have the map here, and I can work with those images otherwise just as highlighted. Okay, so I think we should go over the annotations and then over Omero Parade. I mean, but most importantly, are there any lingering questions, or did I go deep enough into everything which was of interest? If not, then we will switch gears, and considering the iViewer to be done, I will clean up my space a bit, go back to the web client as Rosalinialo, and I will navigate to the sRNAi HeLa dataset. Okay, like so. So so I will go through filtering now and the right-hand pane annotations. These are hugely important and will help you to manage your images in Omero. So if I am inside a data set like this, I can have here filter. So you can see that I'm on the top of the right-hand pane. No, on the top of the central pane, of course. And I have here a drop-down menu. And I can, let's say that I can filter for tag, and I can choose now the tags, and there is a list of the tag which are relevant to this data set. How did the tags get there? Well, I simply added them with cooperation with my colleague Will Moore, And if I click on anaphase, I know that these images have a tag called anaphase. So how is that done? And what are those tags? The tags are in the right-hand pane. These are simply annotation possibilities in Omero, and you can add one or more tags to the images by clicking on this plus button. And you can see that there is a selected tag, of course, anaphase. You can create a new tag like so, Turku, okay? And then you can add the tag there and you say save, and the tag will appear there. Don't create too many tags, mainly on too many images. And if you create a new tag, then maybe delete it or choose a wild name of the tag so that I can recognize it and delete later. Also, please never delete anything, any images on the server, okay? This is for the outreach training server purpose. On your own server in Turku, Finland, of course, you will think and delete as you see fit. But of course, always delete with caution. That hopefully makes sense. There is no undo delete in Omero, so there is a warning nevertheless. Yeah, deleted is deleted. So this was just an aside. We, as I was saying, added the tag to those images to denote that they are in anaphase, the cells on those images. So we did for metaphase, and so we did for prometaphase. Of course, if I click off the metaphase, otherwise it searches only or filters for the images which are only tagged with both. We also have a specific tag search function if you are interested in that. And doing that work, we then went on and rated the best of the images in each of those mitotic groups with some ratings. Okay, this doesn't have any rating, but I can show you very quickly which one do, because I can filter by rating in the whole data set with 5 stars. And you can see these are the 3 images we selected as the best ones in each mitotic groups, so that we will happily, let's say, put them into publication or show them to the boss or whatever. And you can see that each of those images is in different mitotic groups. This doesn't mean that you want to do this exactly. Of course you don't, but I'm just trying to show you what you can do if you set your mind on making a little bit of a law and order in your images. This will benefit yourself as well as others. By others, I of course mean the colleagues which would like to see the images inside Omero. That's the level of granularity you can go into. Now I can let's say filter for, and hold on that for me, because we will use those 3 images tomorrow when we will show the Omero figure. Once more, don't miss on Omero figure. I can now show filtering also for key value pairs. The key value pairs are the next down, okay, and this is probably our most popular annotation feature. It easily blows out of the water tags or ratings or anything else, because they are just one pop per effort. Okay, so you have to put in some effort to create a new tag, and then you have 1 bit of information. Key value pairs are much stronger. You can see that you have a so-called map annotation. One unit can basically contain as many lines as you like, and they are doubles, so tuples, how to say it, of information. The left one is called key and the right one is called value. Why is it valuable? Well, because the lab book of a typical scientist is arranged like that. Methanol, 20 millimolar or 20 milliliter, or I don't know, KCl, 7 nanomolar, okay? concentration of secondary antibody 1 to 100. Okay, it's always key value, where the key is concentration of secondary antibody, temperature, pressure, whatever, and the value is 37 mouse 1 to 100, whatever. Okay, and in this way you can type in the new information, creating new rows in this key value, and say whatever, Turku, and the value is special, or the value is beautiful, okay, or maybe dark in this date of the year, and you know that the value of Turku is dark. It's very silly, but nevertheless, can we come up with something better? You have the ability to search inside the key value pairs. So I can filter for them in here. So for example, if I think I have to refresh the browser nevertheless. If I search for Turku. Okay, and hit enter. I have to choose the key first, and the key is Turku, and it's easy because Turku has just one key, so it filtered out everything else. Okay, but if I have, let's say, other values like other keys like so, for example, incubation in minutes, then I can go and say, if I have less than 20 minutes, almost everything is less than 20 minutes. And if I go and say bigger than, then it will show, this is not typed in. So I have to type 4, and you see that many of them were filtered out. And now it's incubation bigger than 4, which indeed is the case. Incubation here is 5, okay, on this image. So this is one type of working with annotations. You can work with them in Omero Figure, you will see tomorrow, of the key value pairs, and you can also search. So if I search for mitomycin A, you can see that it finds quite a few images. I can also search for mitomycin A colon 0 millimolar. Okay. And now it only searches for key value pairs which have mitomycin A as a value and 0 as a key and 0 millimolar as a value, and nothing else will be found. Okay. Whereas if I just type in mitomycin A, okay. Sorry for the misclick. If I just type in mitomycin A, then it will find the mitomycin and the letter A, because the search splits terms on dashes, anywhere in the metadata of that image. Okay, so that's the difference. I can now go and, well, push it down. I can now go and continue. In this vein, you can see that I have 2 pairs of key value pairs. I have also tables. So I can show it on the data of trainer 1. If I go to lab 1, and I go to idea 0021, then there are 2 attachments. They are coming from Fiji. That's why it's a summary from Fiji. And they are basically tables. One is an Omero table, the one with the eye here. I can ping you the link to the link to the project which I'm working with. Okay, yes. Can we see the key value pairs via JSON API? You can programmatically via scripting do everything I'm showing to you as well as more. Some things will be possible to be done via JSON API, but everything will be possible to done by other APIs if you have other possibilities, such as scripting in Python, connecting to the server, and then creating a ton of key value pairs or retrieving them and some such. We have examples of such work against the IDR. Jean-Marie created some Jupyter notebooks which show how to work in this way with key value pairs.
A lot of elements in that case will be done via, for your case, probably some of the CLI tool, which you can, like similar to the rendering settings, you define a JSON file and then all the parameters are picked up and then converted. So there are many cases like that.
Okay, I feel that we could fit in a small break, or what do you think? So what if we do a break until 12:30? It's
Sounds
a
good.
really short one. I have the feeling that the mood is sinking a little bit. The mood never, of course, but the attention levels.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we will reconvene at 12:30.
All right, thanks.
So we were going through the right and pain, and because I'm not sharing the screen yet, you don't see that. But now you can hopefully see my screen where I am on the portfolio of Trainer 1 in Lab 1 and viewing the project called IDR0021. And this project has on the right hand pane 2 attachments. One is called Summary from Fiji. This was done via script. Fiji was connected. Fiji running locally was connected to Omero, and the images were fetched into local Fiji one by one, analyzed, and then the analytical results were collated into one big table, one row of results per image, and then sent back to Omero using scripting abilities of Fiji and the Groovy language. And that's how it looks like. You can repeat that. We have that in the walkthrough, and we will go through that tomorrow. But now I want to draw your attention to that as a type of metadata which you can have in Omero. This is so-called Omero Table, and it obviously has rows and columns, and I can query it here. I can view it in Omero Web. And these are basically the level of granularity I can go in Fiji. These are the column headers asked by Joanna on our out-of-the-box script, which analyzes the rows. You can, of course, see that the possibilities in Fiji are infinitely greater, and you can get much more juice out of it, so to say. And then store the data in Omero like so. Mainly what we will show tomorrow is how to do that manually, okay, so that you will be able to do it for yourself. And then let's say store it not necessarily as Omero Table. You can as well. I can show you the workflow how to do that, but you can simply attach a CSV from Fiji like so, and I'm just downloading the CSV, and that's basically the same table which is there as an Omero table is there as a CSV. That's the CSV I'm just showing right now. Okay, with all those varying columns, the ferret X, etc., etc., and it has 414 rows. That's quite a bit of secondary metadata. Let's call it the analytical results, which are coming from the secondary analysis run on images. Again, the images were in Omero during the analysis. Yeah, there was no such thing that you would have to download everything. You can also put the analysis closer to the images, which is done, let's say, using the other let's say analytical machine on next to the data or close to the data, and we can discuss such things as well. We have Jean-Marie's notebooks which are able to do the analysis, and we can show them tomorrow. But this is how the analytical results can be stored. So 2 ways: under the attachment, Omero Table or a CSV. But indeed, let's not stop there. Yeah, we can actually attach whatever we like from the local hierarchy. So I can, for example, locally attach a screenshot from my desktop. Annotate 1B. Okay. And this is now uploaded onto the Omero server, just like this. It's not imported as an image to Omero though. So you will not be able to see that PNG in Omero because it's just an attachment. I can attach a PDF, which is very often. Some PDF might come from Omero Figure as well, whatever, okay? The important thing is to remember, if it's not Omero Table, which will have the I here, or then Omero will do nothing with that attachment in this view, except when it's CSV and PDF, which are indexed by the searcher. So if I have in a PDF some term inside that file and then text file, I can search it via the search here. Yeah, but I can, let's say, attach a MATLAB file or whatever, but don't expect that to be executed by Omero or done something. Yeah, it just goes again into the relational database, and Omero simply remembers to which container, image, dataset, project, screen well played it belongs to, and just retains this information and shows it there for you next time when you come to that server. Okay, so these are the attachments. You can also add comments and ratings to a project dataset or indeed image. So that is all there. I think we went through the right-hand pane, and we understand how to do attachments and annotations. And so these are the ones which I would call secondary attachments and annotations. I will, let's say, now go and show you how we would like to work with them, with the secondary metadata, using an application for Omero Web called Omero Parade. Okay. So we have here these 2 attachments, summary from Fiji and the CSV table. Omero Parade nowadays works with both. So first of all, let's be sure that we are working with the same data. Not all of those data there have these attachments and the richness of secondary results. So once more, go please and find this project, okay, which I just pinged in the chat. Navigate there and you should be able to see this, right? And once you saw this, then it's scarily dark here, but there is a menu item above the right-hand pane which says Parade. Okay, thumbnails, auto tag, and Parade. And I will click on that Parade, and nothing really will show because Parade is working only with open data sets, and all my data sets inside that project are closed. So I click on Open All, and I can now view the images as shown by this data mining tool called Omero Parade. So Omero Parade is actually kind of sorting out the images according, this time not according to the original metadata or the secondary metadata, or it can do that as well, but its main purpose is to sort the images according to the secondary metadata which came as an analytical results, like for example, which images have big cells in them. Okay, so this is done by working with that like so. So first of all, I can filter for ROI count. So the segmentation in Fiji, we have produced some regions of interest, and I can, for example, filter for ROIs. I can add 2 filter for ROIs. You will see in a second why. And I can add, show me the images which have more than 14 ROIs, but less than 35. Okay, so I know that these images have between 14 and 35 ROIs. Maybe these are cells, maybe they are something else, but they are there. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. I can go here and open the image in full viewer, and I can see the regions of interest here in full viewer, which were created by Fiji. And I can, being back in the web client, I can remove the filters like so. And let's say filter for our good old key value. Again, Omero Operate can do that. Pick key, antibody target, blah, will filter everything out. I have to have some reasonable antibody target there, but you get the point here. Okay. Now I can add the table data to a table. You will see it more clearly when I switch on the top right to the column view. So if I click here, you can see that the central pane is shown in a different layout, and I can now go and add table data, and this will add new columns into here. You can see that the table data are recruited from both the CSV, which is on the project, as well as the Omero table, which I was showing to you in this view here. Yeah? So this is where the metadata here in the column names are recruited from. So I will add table bounding box, and you see that it popped up here, and I will add table total area. But I can add actually the table total area from the CSV. Okay, it's just a music play, but you can see that you can actually compare in this way 2 sets of analytical results on the same images. So you can have 2 different pipelines which were used to analyze your images, and now you can put them side by side like this. Okay, now you can sort the images. You can sort them dataset by dataset, or you can sort them like that. The heat map shows that the total area of those images is quite big if it's dark red, and it goes lower and lower into colder colors. And so this was the addition of the table data. And I can now go and click on the small graph icon here. And this shows me a plot of the total area against bounding box. And I can see that on the top right here, I have 2 points which have quite a large bounding box and not so big total area. I'm a little bit suspicious about that because it's untypical, and it will probably, it might be some artifacts of my analysis. So I select them by dragging a box around them, or I can indeed, let's say, click on each point and shift click to select the second one. And then I can go here on the top right and say open in Omero iViewer. This would open too many images because I shift clicked, and I'm shift clicking actually here in the left hand side 3. So sorry about that. I will select them like that. Nevertheless, this will select just the 2 images. Sorry about that. And then I go and click on open in Omero iViewer. And those 2 images are open in Omero iViewer. And as previously, I will navigate to the ROI tab, and I can see in the Omero iViewer what is it that is making the bounding box so big and the area so small for it. So I have here two centrioles. It's quite small objects, 1 and 2, and these are the centrioles which should have been segmented by Fiji. Nevertheless, in this case, it didn't go that well. It segmented ROI, and because the script actually takes into account only the biggest ROI in the image, then it takes into account this big sausage here. And this is obviously wrong shape, and that's why they are in the graph on the wrong place. They are outliers, and I will discard them. And this simple workflow enabled me to do this quality assurance step. So I can use the Omero Parade in this manner as well. Very good. So this would be for Omero Parade in the image dataset setup. And then I would like to show you the Omero Parade in the Screenplay well. So if I go here to the previously analyzed, in the same portfolio where I am, okay, I just navigated to the last container on the left-hand side, still being in Omero Parade, okay. This plate has on itself also a table which is coming from Cell Profiler. And I can now click and view the table like so, okay. And this again contains some plentitude of results. I can say that I would like to, let's say, filter for ROI count, but you know that already, let's say 34, this will filter out all, yeah, probably don't have the ROIs there because they are not coming back from Cell Profiler, sorry about that. But I can add table data, table cell count. Okay, like so. I can go to and select the table, so I can simply pick up values from the table and then filter for them. So if I go table cell count like so, then I have suddenly a slide bar here, okay? And it basically shows me here in the small histogram that my values in that in those images are between 3 and 73, okay? So if I now go and start sliding, you can see that the number appeared here, and I'm basically showing all the wells which have more than 43 cells in them. How do we know how many cells are in those wells? Well, this is captured in that table I just shown you, which comes ultimately from Cell Profiler. And I can now go in the right-hand pane and click on tables. This is another metadata tab. This time this is either on well or on image. I could show, I will show you in the second, coming back to the project and data set. This is basically all the columns from that big Omero table coming from Cell Profiler, but pertaining to this particular well. Okay, so these are the values on that well. And if I'm dragging the button here, you can see that the cells are, that the wells are being shown or hidden according to whether or not they have the more than this or that number of cells in them. Okay. So this would be for the high content screening data. And let me just, sorry for the omission, let me just go back to the project dataset. So that's the project and dataset setup, which we were exploring a second ago. If I go here, I can add again the total area and let's say the table bounding box and then go and create the graph. The important thing I wanted to show as a prep for tomorrow, so that you don't forget the binding, is that I can select a couple of points because I know they are interesting for the out of the strength of them being in this particular region of the graph. Of course, I can plot other graphs here, as you can see, and then open those points in Omero Figure as well, which is quite handy, and we will use it tomorrow for the Omero Figure. So I can go to the left-hand side and say open Figure, click that, and those 3 images inside that graph will open for me in Omero Figure, which is a nice tool how to create figures for publication in scientific journals. And we have a nice workflow which will be shown tomorrow, which shows you how to basically create a figure in 5 minutes and save it and send the PDF to somebody. So bear with us on that. And I think slowly we are coming to the end of the first section of the workshop, which should end at 1 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Finnish time. So I would like to thank for your attention. Be reminded what I forgot and collect your questions and wishes and feedback. And I'm just checking if I didn't make any omissions. I didn't show you the 3D viewer. If you really want to see that, we can go through that. But I think the questions and the feedback is now much more important. So thank you very much. And yeah, see you tomorrow. If you want to ask questions now, then please do so. Very welcome.
Thank you. Beiru is asking there if we are publishing this video online, so we can put this on the Turku Bioimaging YouTube channel as suggested by Petra, so we can then share the link for all the participants.
Okay.
Maybe I can ask one question. In the beginning, did you have like a shared link, like place where all the materials of today was? There were quite a few links, but I got confused already.
Yes, we are going to paste them again. The links are hosted, the whole material is hosted on downloads.openmicroscopy.org. Okay, I can click on presentations 2021 Turku.
Perfect, exactly.
Okay, and I will paste that one again.
I hope
I've pasted it, Peter.
Oh, thank you. The other way how you can go about that, Joanna, is so let me show you as many ways as possible, because it's always very hard to find a lifeline. If you find actually inside there, I hope that you have your hand on this. You somehow found this, yeah? The link is also here.
Okay,
so you can go from there to here. Okay, so it's like the database. Okay, everything is linked together, and you will not find you will not lose your way around. As well as you can forget all of that and just say, I just want Omero guides. That's also a way to work. Okay, what is the advantage of simply sticking to Omero guides? Well, you get a world, a new world, basically another dimension. Okay, the Omero guides, of course, were not written specifically with this workshop in mind. They are there for all the workshops as well as for other documentation purposes, such as you can here in general concepts find the upload data, which we went there, the import image data, import data using client. That's what we went through if you, let's say, forgot or something like that. I think that there is also written how to do a CLI, okay, how to import CLI, using CLI. There are the other imports. What I was showing mainly during the workshop, you can find in data management and cooperation. There are the steps I was showing to you, also the Screenplay 12. This is nice. For tomorrow, we have there okay, so this is on the docs page. For tomorrow, we have there the analysis part, which is called, I also went through the Omero web extensions for data viewing, Omero application, how to write a guide, programming interfaces. So if I go here, you can see that these are the languages slide, more or less, which I was showing. And then for the analysis, it's very handy that these icons are clickable. Okay, so for tomorrow, you can navigate to Fiji, and here you go, Fiji. Okay, we will also do QPath. Click on QPath icon. Here you go, QPath. Okay.
Question,
So,
Peter, from Antti.
yes, let's do it. I unfortunately can't see the question in the chat. So
Just raise his hand.
Right, I just raised the hand here. So the question was actually just about this importing the files. So did I get it right? So there is no way in Omero Web to import, but you only do that in inside.
You got it right.
But everything else is in the web.
Yeah, and why is that?
System.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So that was what I was trying to kind of excuse at the beginning. It usually goes like that. That's the reality of software development. Okay. The OME team is able to do what it is able to do, and it has its priorities. In the past, the Omero Insight was the main client, so to say, and the most energy went into that. But there are many technical and other reasons why the OME team said, well, now the Omero Insight is deprecated. And you would say, oh, then rewrite everything into Omero Web. Nice idea. But we are in a real world, okay? We still want to have the features for the users, and we have to let the users pay this small inconvenience that they will swap to Omero Web, where our concentration and energy and development effort and testing and making sure that everything works went. What we are keeping up on Omero Insight, if there is a bug or dysfunctionality of the import feature, we will fix it. Yeah, if there is a regression, we will fix it, but not much more.
For import, but you can the main from a UI perspective, the desktop client is, but there are other mechanisms to import you. That it really depends on what you want. You can do via a command line. So at the institution, you can also decide not to move your data. If there's already central storage, the data can stay there. You can have script at night that will scan and what we say make an in-place import, so the data don't move and Omero is just aware of where the data are. So there's other mechanism. We have a system called a Dropbox, which is not the known Dropbox. We have picked the name before Dropbox became popular, and then we have not changed. But in terms of, it's kind of a bucket into the Omero. So when data come, you could imagine some script migrating the good data into that Dropbox area for a given user, and that get trigger an import. So the user doesn't have to physically import themselves. There are other options, but none from the web at the moment. And the reason mainly because we rely on our library called Bioformat, which is a Java library, and that is and also for some very large file, the web will time out very quickly. So it works fine for some small images, but as we know, images are getting much bigger, light sheet, for example, and even Insight is not the option for that. For as soon as your data get very large, you need to start thinking of importing or in place importing in a different manner.
Yes, well, thank you very much.
So all that is described is in the guide. There's various options, and Peter show you switch it. But there's another question from Sarah. Well, she has raised her hand. So
Yes, this actually relates to what you just said about the image sizes, and I was just thinking about tissue stainings and this kind of multiplexing. If you would have like several parallel stainings of kind of big tissue pieces, and how would that work? Like because they are quite big.
yeah, I think, and also for that's where I think the desktop client is not very good in context of like IDR that Peter indicated. We have the human protein atlas. We've got all the data. The data are getting very big, and when you do like CLI import, you can tune it in parallel, so you can do parallel import. So I think at that stage, when you are with big data, effort need to be put with IT and say what is the best strategy to get this data in, and by in it means that Omero is aware of this data. This data, as I said, could stay where they are at the moment. If you have I don't know what you kind of remember the setup in Tuku, but you could imagine having a Samba share, for example, a share element, and Omero just become aware of the data. So we create soft link between where the data are on disk. And then you can do anything that has been shown by Peter. We just say, okay, we know where the data are, and when we need to fetch them, we fetch them.
Okay.
So that could be, and that could be done as well in parallel. So the data only move at the time of acquisition, and then after that, they don't really, the large volume don't move. What will happen at that stage on the server is the only thumbnail will be saved on the server, in the Omero server, not the original data, if you do the in-place import. But yeah, this is possible for very large file, and for all the data that Peter was showing today have been in place imported. So even if there's 50 users, there is not 50 copy of the images. There's only one copy, and then we kind of share this element across.
Okay. Thanks.
So what Jean-Marie was just describing is in this nice cartoon. Just search inside the Omero guides for this word, in place. Yeah, just pop it here in the search, and you will find out this particular place. And this cartoon was nicely worked on by our colleague Dominic, and it's pretty useful. It basically shows you that what we did here with Omero Insight was just that in the first box here, from your PC. A hard copy onto Omero server, no big deal, but also no sparing of time. And see you, Marco. Thank you for your participation. And whereas in the case of in-place import, you have some storage, and data are typically not on the local machines or USB sticks or hard drives. Anyway, they will, because they are big, out of you would not fit them anyway. They are on some Samba share or some server on the institution, not an Omero one. And that's what Jean-Marie meant by not moving the data. And then Omero server is able to import them in place, and this in fact means that it creates link between the data which sit in place. They are simply glued there till the end of their life, and the Omero is only knowing where the data are, and whatever, and anytime Omero needs to do something for the user, like show the full viewer, then it will go via the link to the in-place and fetches the original image only, and then when asked by the users through Omero. That's why the original place is very good to keep it read-only, because you don't want the changes to happen there. Yes. So I see that people are going to do some other business. quite logically. We will start wrapping that up, but as I said, feel free to ask more questions. And of course, we have tomorrow the second day with Omero figure. So don't forget that.